Europe has so many tiny countries because Europe never became one clean political machine. It became a crowded workshop of kingdoms, duchies, bishoprics, city-states, mountain republics, merchant leagues, imperial leftovers, dynastic accidents, and treaty-made compromises. The map looks messy because the history was messy. Europe is what happens when geography, war, religion, trade, marriage politics, and stubborn local identity spend 1,000 years arguing over property lines. The result is a continent where a country can be smaller than an American county and still have a flag, a parliament, a soccer team, and a bureaucracy with opinions about cheese. The first cause is geography. Europe is small compared with Asia or Africa, but it is broken into many natural compartments. Mountains, rivers, peninsulas, islands, forests, and inland seas carve the continent into defensible pockets. The Alps split northern and southern Europe. The Pyrenees separate Iberia from France. The Carpathians form a great eastern arc. The Balkans are a maze of mountains, valleys, and coastal enclaves. Geography favors political fragmentation when armies have trouble crossing terrain. A ruler can conquer a plain faster than a mountain valley. A tax collector moves easily through open country. He slows down when the road turns into a goat trail with a monastery at the end and 3 families claiming ancient privileges. That matters. Small communities survived because the land protected them. Switzerland is the classic case. Its mountain cantons grew around local defense, local law, and local agreements. The same pattern appears in places like Andorra, tucked between France and Spain in the Pyrenees. San Marino survived inside Italy because it was small, old, inconvenient to absorb, and useful as a harmless relic. Europe contains many places where conquest offered more trouble than reward. The second cause is Rome's collapse. The Roman Empire once gave much of Europe a single imperial structure. Roads, law, taxes, armies, and cities worked under one system. When the Western Roman Empire fell, political authority splintered. Germanic kingdoms, local warlords, bishops, and landholding families filled the vacuum. No single successor rebuilt the whole Western Empire. Charlemagne came close for a moment. His empire covered much of Western and Central Europe. After his death, it fractured through inheritance, local power, and regional rivalry. The Treaty of Verdun in 843 divided his empire among his grandsons. That division helped set the rough foundations for France, Germany, and the middle belt of contested lands between them. That middle belt mattered. It included regions that later became the Low Countries, Burgundy, Alsace, Lorraine, Switzerland, and northern Italy's connected zones. Europe's later conflicts often ran through this fractured imperial inheritance like a crack in old glass. The third cause is feudalism. Medieval Europe was built around layered authority. A king might claim sovereignty, but dukes, counts, bishops, abbots, cities, and knightly orders held real power. Land was tied to rights. Rights were tied to oaths. Oaths were tied to inheritance. Inheritance was tied to marriage. Marriage was tied to politics. This produced political confetti. A noble family could gain land by marriage. A prince could inherit territory hundreds of miles away. A bishop could rule land as a prince. A free city could govern itself under imperial protection. A monastery could hold legal privileges. A knightly order could control territory. Every arrangement came with seals, charters, titles, and some medieval lawyer pleased with himself. The Holy Roman Empire pushed this pattern to its highest form. Despite the grand title, the Holy Roman Empire was a loose structure of kingdoms, duchies, bishoprics, counties, imperial cities, and small lordships. At times, it contained hundreds of political units. Some were large, many were tiny. A man could travel a short distance and cross several jurisdictions, each with its own toll, law, coinage, and local ruler. Germany unified late because the empire preserved fragmentation for centuries. Italy unified late for similar reasons. Both regions had rich cities, old local identities, and powerful outside patrons who benefited from division. Unity looked simple on a map. On the ground, every little prince had a chair, a title, and a reason to stay seated. The fourth cause is trade. Europe's small states survived where trade made small political units wealthy. Venice, Genoa, Florence, Lübeck, Hamburg, Bruges, and the Dutch cities built power through commerce, banking, shipping, textiles, and finance. In these places, wealth came from networks rather than large land empires. A city-state can survive when it controls trade routes, ports, credit, or specialized industry. Venice ruled a maritime empire while its home territory remained compact. Genoa projected power through ships and bankers. Florence turned banking and textile wealth into political influence, then into Renaissance prestige. The Dutch Republic became a commercial giant despite its small size. Small size sometimes helped. A compact merchant state could govern trade with tighter focus than a sprawling agrarian monarchy. Its elites understood ports, contracts, cargo, credit, and naval protection.
Pause. The local merchant class watched policy closely because bad policy hit their purse before lunch.
This is why tiny European states often punched above their weight. They sat on trade routes, controlled choke points, or specialized in finance. Monaco, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, and Malta are modern examples of small states using location, law, finance, tourism, or services to survive in a world built for larger powers. The fifth cause is religion. The Protestant Reformation fractured Europe's political order. Religion became tied to sovereignty. Catholic rulers, Lutheran princes, Calvinist cities, Anglican monarchs, and Orthodox polities built confessional identities. The result was a continent where faith and statecraft reinforced local autonomy. The Peace of Westphalia in 1648 confirmed a key principle. Rulers controlled the religious and political order within their territories. The settlement helped stabilize the fragmented map of Central Europe. It also made sovereignty more formal. A small state could claim standing as a legitimate political unit within a broader European order. Religion helped small countries defend identity. The Dutch revolt against Spain fused politics, Protestant resistance, commerce, and local rights. The Swiss Confederation managed religious division through cantonal autonomy. The Balkans preserved layers of Orthodox, Catholic, Muslim, and local identities under and after Ottoman rule. Once religion attaches to territory, borders become harder to erase. A small state becomes a shrine to local history, except with tax codes and a surprisingly intense national anthem. The sixth cause is balance of power politics. Europe's great powers often kept small states alive because absorbing them would upset the regional order. France, Britain, Austria, Prussia, Russia, Spain, and later Germany competed across the continent. When one power grew too strong, others supported buffers. Belgium exists partly because European powers wanted a buffer between France and the Netherlands, and later between France and Germany. Luxembourg survived through treaties, dynastic arrangements, and great power guarantees. Switzerland's neutrality became useful to the wider European system. The small states of the Low Countries mattered because their ports, rivers, and plains were too strategically sensitive to leave uncontested. Great powers often prefer weak buffers over strong rivals. A small neutral state can function like political padding between armored elbows. Everyone claims to respect its independence because everyone fears the other fellow controlling it. This logic shaped Europe repeatedly. After Napoleon, the Congress of Vienna redrew the map to contain France and restore balance. After World War I, empires broke apart, and new small states appeared in Central and Eastern Europe. After the Cold War, Yugoslavia and Czechoslovakia split into smaller states, while the Baltic countries regained independence after Soviet collapse. The seventh cause is nationalism. Modern nationalism gave local peoples a language for sovereignty. Before nationalism, people often belonged to dynasties, churches, towns, estates, or empires. After nationalism, language, culture, and historical memory became political claims. This did two things at once. It created large nation-states like Germany and Italy. It also created demands for smaller states among Czechs, Slovaks, Croats, Slovenes, Serbs, Lithuanians, Latvians, Estonians, Finns, Irish, and others. Nationalism made identity territorial. A people with a language, literature, church tradition, or historic kingdom could argue that it deserved statehood. Sometimes the claim was strong. Sometimes it was assembled like furniture bought without instructions. Europe accepted both kinds. The collapse of empires multiplied countries. The Austro-Hungarian Empire contained many peoples under one imperial roof. When that roof fell in 1918, new states emerged. The Ottoman retreat from Europe had a similar effect. The Russian and Soviet imperial systems shaped another wave of national independence. This is why Europe's tiny countries are often old and new at the same time. Some have medieval roots. Others are modern settlements built from the debris of empire. The map carries both ancient borders and recent wounds. The eighth cause is law. Europe developed a strong tradition of recognized sovereignty. Once a state gains legal recognition, it becomes difficult to erase without war, treaty, or internal collapse. International law, diplomacy, embassies, treaties, and later bodies like the United Nations and European Union gave small states protective frameworks. The European Union strengthened this pattern. A small country inside the EU can access large markets while keeping its flag and government. That reduces the economic pressure to merge with a larger neighbor. Malta, Luxembourg, Slovenia, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Croatia, Cyprus, and others gain scale through Europe's shared market while retaining national control over many domestic matters. This is one of Europe's great political tricks. Small states get the romance of sovereignty and the convenience of a continental market. It is like owning a cottage with access to a palace kitchen. Europe has many tiny countries because the continent rewards local survival. Mountains protected valleys, rivers shaped trade, feudal law preserved fragments, city wealth supported independence, religion hardened identity. Great power rivalry protected buffers. Nationalism turned culture into borders. Modern law froze many of those borders into recognized states. The map looks strange because it records centuries of compromise. Large empires tried to simplify Europe. Rome tried, Charlemagne tried, Napoleon tried, Hitler tried, the Soviet Union tried in the East. Each effort failed or receded. Europe returned again and again to its older habit. Many peoples, many borders, many governments, and a permanent suspicion of anyone who wants the whole chessboard. That is the real answer. Europe has so many tiny countries because its geography resists easy control. Its history preserved local authority, and its political culture learned to treat small states as legitimate actors. The continent became rich through trade, competition, law, and local institutions. Those same forces also kept it divided. Europe's tiny countries are accidents, survivors, buffers, relics, trading posts, mountain republics, treaty children, and national homes.
They are the crumbs left by empire, except some of the crumbs have banks, ski resorts, ports, and better paperwork than the empires that tried to swallow them.